Hey guys, it's JC Theater Yu-Gi-Oh here today, and I'm coming at you with my Phantasm Spiral Tenyi deck. Now this definitely doesn't use a lot of Tenyis in it, so it's like barely a fusion deck really. It's mainly just Phantasm Spirals with a little bit of Tenyi teched in, but I think these two archetypes have pretty decent synergy. It's just the build that I like to play doesn't use a lot of monsters, so I tend to run very light on the Tenyis, as you'll see. I'm not the most advanced Phantasm Spiral player as well. I know it's quite the intensely specific deck when it comes to like interactions and stuff, and you definitely have to like play it a while to properly know how to use it. But it is a very fun deck. I think the gimmick is very interesting, and overall, I decided to pick it up, build the deck, and let you guys see what I did with it. So without further ado, here is my Phantasm Spiral Tenyi deck. So first up, of course, I'm playing two Phantasm Spiral Dragons. Now, funny enough, he's not a dragon, he's a worm, and he is the main central point of the deck. He gets to be special summoned out from the hand, deck, or graveyard onto the field with a lot of the Phantasm Spiral support cards. So I like just playing two of him because he can be tutored out anyway. Next up, I play three Tenyi Spirit Vishuddha, which is arguably the most techable and the best Tenyi card in my opinion. What he does is if you control no effect monsters, you can special summon him out onto the field from your hand. And if you control a non-effect monster, you can banish him from your hand or graveyard to target one card your opponent controls and return it to the hand. So he not only helps with disrupting your opponent's boards, but he also is quite good for just getting a free body on board because you're playing non-effect monsters in the deck. Finally, as per the standard, I'm running the dinosaur variant of Spiral Phantasm, so I'm playing the 3 Megalo Smasher. The good part about this guy is that he is level 4 dinosaur and 2000 attack, and it's water. So all the things combined really help make this monster a good part of the deck. Now, already onto the spells after we're done with those 8 monsters is 3 Fossil Dig, so it's almost like we have 6 copies of Megalo Smasher in our deck. Additionally, I just play the 1 Monster Reborn for the times that one of the Megalo Smashers or the Phantasm Spiral Dragon get into the graveyard, or the Vishuddha for that matter if you don't want to use his effect immediately. Next up, I play 1 Terraforming, which we'll get to the field spell a little later. I play 3 Card of Demise, because as you see from the 8 monsters of the deck, this definitely helps you get good draw power since we're running a lot of spells and traps, so you can just set all those spells and traps, get rid of the few monsters you have in your hand, and potentially draw 3 cards. And then instead of discarding all the cards from Card of Demise during the end phase, you just, again, set them. Or if you have to discard them, you can either Monster Reborn it back, or you can simply bring back the Phantasm Spiral Dragon with one of the cards that do it. Additionally, I also play 3 Unexpected Die, which basically is to special summon out the Megalo Smasher from the deck, so you can get to your monsters a little quicker. Next up, since this does have a lot of normal monsters in it, I'm playing 3 Heatwave. Heatwave is a pretty good effect. It can only be activated during the beginning of your main phase 1, so if you draw it from Card of Demise, you usually can't play it till the next turn, but it's still very powerful. Neither player can normal or special summon an effect monster until your next draw phase. So if you activate it at the beginning of your main phase 1, the rest of your turn, as well as the rest of your opponent's turn, no one can special summon effect monsters, or normal summon effect monsters, which doesn't hinder you, but it definitely hinders a lot of players in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Now onto the field spell card for that Terraforming is the 3 Pacifists, the Phantasm City. City is definitely the glue that kind of makes this whole deck a lot more consistent and a lot better. The first part of its effect, which actually comes up a little later in the deck profile, is the fact that it's always treated as the name Yumi. Additionally, it has an effect where if you use its effects, you can't normal or special summon effect monsters that turn, even if it leaves the field, but that doesn't really affect us because we are running so many non-effect monsters in the deck. as well as the extra deck. The good part about this is if you normal or special summon out a normal monster onto your side of the field, you can search any Phantasm Spiral card from your deck to your hand, which is definitely very good, and it adds to the consistency of the deck. And also, it allows you, if you don't already control a token, if your opponent activates a card or effect, and you can, like I said, you don't control any tokens, you can special summon out a Phantasm Spiral token, which is a level 8 with 2,000 attack and 2,000 defense. That not controlling a token is so that way you don't just like flood the field with a bunch of tokens, but it's definitely good to have that extra body on board since we aren't playing many monsters, and the token is pretty beefy and has no restrictions to it either. Okay, so first off, for the Phantasm Spiral equips, I play 2 Phantasm Spiral Crash. Now, Crash, all of the Phantasm Spiral equips have like a theme to them. Crash is that it can only be equipped to a normal monster like all of them, but it allows you to inflict piercing damage against a defense position opponent's monster, and if the equipped monster inflicts battle damage to your opponent, you can special summon out 1 Phantasm Spiral Dragon from your hand, deck, or graveyard, and then equip Phantasm Spiral Crash to that dragon. And then you can change 1 attack position monster your opponent controls to defense position. So it's all of its gimmick with that is basically you deal battle damage to your opponent, and then you can make an opponent's monster defense position, so that way you can pierce through that with the new Phantasm Spiral Dragon you have on your field that's newly equipped with Phantasm Spiral Crash. The other equipped Phantasm Spiral card I play is 2 Phantasm Spiral Grip. Grip is just to increase attack. So again, it can only be equipped to a normal monster, and it gains 500 attack. And when the equipped monster destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can again special summon out a Phantasm Spiral Dragon from your hand, deck, or graveyard, and you equip it with Phantasm Spiral Grip, and then inflict 1,000 damage to your opponent. So this one is more dealing with destroying and damaging your opponent, whereas Spiral Crash was more like defeating defense position monsters. These are definitely very good for the battle phase, because since it's during the battle phase, it basically brings out a new monster to deal more damage, plus it gets equipped with the equipped card you just used with another monster, which I think is an interesting gimmick, and it's very nice and welcoming. Next up, I play 3 Phantasm Spiral Power. Phantasm Spiral Power is actually pretty good. If all monsters you control are normal monsters, you can target 1 effect monster your opponent controls, and until the end of that turn, it loses 1,000 attack and defense, and it has its effects negated. And if Yumi, aka our Phantasm Spiral City up in here, or Spiral, what is it called actually? Pacifist, the Phantasm City, is on the field, because that's considered Yumi, you can activate Phantasm Spiral Power from your hand, so you don't even have to set it. Additionally, you can banish it from your graveyard to target 1 normal monster you control, and equip it with a Phantasm Spiral Equip spell card from your hand or graveyard, which usually you would pick one of your equips from the graveyard, since we're only running 4 in the deck. This is definitely very good because it's basically a pseudo hand trap, literally a hand trap, since you can use it from your hand as a trap card that negates your opponent's monster effect and makes it lose 1,000 attack and defense. You can beat over it as well. Overall, I really like this card, and it's definitely a 3 of in my opinion. Again, speaking of Yumi, I play 3 Sea Stealth Attack. Sea Stealth Attack, when you activate this continuous trap card, you can actually activate a copy of Yumi from your hand or graveyard. So basically, this is a very good recursion for Pacifist for bringing it out from the graveyard if it happens to be destroyed by your opponent, since usually in this deck your opponent goes after Pacifist because it helps you search your cards and also gets you some pretty decent bodies on board. Not only is this recursion for Yumi, but it has 2 effects as long as Yumi is on the field. Once per turn, you can banish a water monster you control until the end phase, and for that turn, face-up spell and traps you control cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects, which is good because obviously that means that Yumi cannot be destroyed, or Pacifist rather, so that definitely helps protect that, as well as your back row, since we're running a lot of spells and traps. At the start of the damage step, the second effect of this is at the start of the damage step, if your water monster, whose original level is 5 or higher, battles an opponent's monster, destroy that opponent's monster, which is definitely good since we are playing the Phantasm Spiral Dragon, which is a level higher than a level 5 water monster. Then for some other cards that have to do with not Yumi, but like the field spell is the one Metaverse. I just think the field spell is such an integral part of making this deck really function that that's why we play the one Terraforming, one Metaverse, as well as the Sea Stealth attack, just in case it's in the graveyard. So that way we can always see the field spell as much as possible. Additionally, I play the one Skill Drain. Since we are playing a lot of normal monsters, all normal monsters except for Vishuda, Skill Drain's definitely good. Another thing I want to mention that I should have mentioned when I was on Pacifist is if you use Pacifist, you actually can't use Vishuda's effect of special summoning out and stuff, so just keep that in mind to just be aware that if you have the Pacifist, the Vishuda is kind of a dead draw almost, but you can still banish him from your hand to send a monster your opponent controls back to the hand. You just can't summon it out. And then finally, I have the 3 Fists of the Unrivaled Tenyi, which this is a counter trap that when a spell or trap card or monster effect is activated while you control a face-up non-effect monster, negate that activation. And if this set card you control is destroyed by your opponent's card effect, you can special summon 1 non-effect monster from your extra deck. We are running quite a few non-effect monsters in the extra deck, and additionally, this just overall is a good negation counter trap option in the deck, in my opinion. Now on to the extra deck. So for the extra deck, I play 3 Monk of the Tenyi. The combo for this is that if you have no monsters on the field, or if you just have non-effect monsters, which is a likely case in this deck especially, you special summon out Vishuda from your hand, and then you link it away for this, and then once Vishuda is in your graveyard, you can banish it whenever you would like in order to bounce an opponent's monster back to their hand. So not only is this good disruption of your opponent's board, but it's also a free link 1 on the field. That's a non-effect monster, so that like helps with everything. Next up, skipping ahead to the rank 3s, I also play the 2 Berserker of the Tenyi, which is quite good because it is a 3000 attack monster that is a non-effect monster, so it doesn't conflict really with much of the cards in the deck. Now the next 2 cards in the deck kind of don't make sense really, but I recommend them if you want to explore the more traditional extra deck route in terms of using like Boral Sword Dragon or Borreload Dragon or anything like that, is 2 Link Spider. This is just a free way to make your normal monsters into effect monsters, just in case you need effect monsters on the field for Link plays. Additionally, Link Spider actually has a pretty decent effect where you can special summon out a level 4 or lower normal monster from your hand, which works with Megalo Smasher. So if you happen to have a Megalo Smasher on the field and another one in your hand because you use like Unexpected Die or something, and you have the Fossil Dig or you hard drew the other copy, you can bring out the other one just to have more field presence ultimately. Or you can even go into a Land for Linkus, or you can go into Agave Dragon. The only reason I play Agave Dragon in this deck, or it might be Agave Dragon, I'm not sure, is the fact that he has effects based off of the type of monsters in your graveyard, which is worm, dragon, sea serpent, or dinosaur, so like anything that has scales, I guess. And since we play both worms and dinosaurs, this is like the only deck I could think of that like naturally you can kind of play this in, that's not like dedicated to like bringing this guy out as like a boss monster. And so his effects aren't too good and you're never going to actually bring him out, but what's his effects? He gains 100 or 200 attack for each dinosaur, and you gain 400 life points for each worm in your graveyard. Sadly, since we hardly play any cards in this deck, it's not too crazy good, but like I said, it's more just there for the fun of it. Now onto the Xyz monsters. First up, again, kind of for the fun of it, kind of semi-serious, Gem Knight Pearl is just a strong, non-effect monster you can bring out with 2 Megalo Smashers on your field if you have to run over something and you have like a bad wonky hand to where you can't bring out the Phantasm Spiral Dragon. Additionally, since the better options usually would be either Evolzar Lagia or one of the 2 Dolka that I play in the deck, because we are playing dinosaurs and they require specifically dinosaurs to bring out. So these are definitely good. And since Megalo Smasher is a water, I also have the 1 Bahamut Shark, which takes 2 level 4 water monsters. And this lets you special summon out a rank 3 or lower Xyz from your deck onto the field, which would be totally awesome here. This is definitely a wonky version of the deck. I highly recommend using this as a basis for the deck, but definitely feel out and figure out what you want for both the, especially for the extra deck. But the main deck is pretty standard. Tenyis, like I said, are very good for this deck, and ultimately, this is a very fun and interesting deck, and other than my extra deck, the usual price of this deck is quite low because all of the Phantasm Spiral cards are very, very cheap because they're all commons and like rares. Heatwave got a reprint, so even that's not too bad. Fossil Dig comes common, Megalo Smasher common. All the Tenyi spirits are rare, and so I don't know. It's just a very cheap deck. Even the most expensive deck in the card in the main deck, Card of Demise, is I think like $4 or something, or $5 since it's gotten some reprints. Ultimately, pick this deck up. It's very fun and interesting. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like the deck profile, leave a like on the video and subscribe, please. Additionally, if you have any critiques for me, I'm more than willing to listen to them because I make a lot of decks for deck profiles and I'm no expert on any decks ever, so I greatly appreciate any feedback. Thank you so much, guys. I'm JC Theater Yu-Gi-Oh! See ya!